Is Serena Nelson, and I'm a graduate student at Regis College in the Young School of Nursing. My proposal is centered on African American women and the mother infant mortality rate and preconception care. Some background on my project. African American women have always experienced a disproportionate number of mother and infant deaths related to treatable pregnancy complications. These complications can include anything from high blood pressure, diabetes, weight complications, and even folic acid intake, among others. Having care during the preconception stage can identify problems that need to be addressed and can be managed before becoming pregnant that can save the mother and the infant. Preconception care can help lower the occurrences that this happens in pregnancy also. Some statistical information. Here is some background information and numbers. The top chart lists the amount of deaths per 100 births. While African American women are at 10.8 deaths per 1,000 live births, Caucasians are only at 4.6. That is a 2.3 times the amount of African American women that experience mother-infant mortality rates among Caucasian women. The second chart is the reasoning behind these complications. While low birth weight and congenital malformations are 1 and 2, maternal complications are number 3, where the death rate for African American women are at 77.7 and Caucasians is only at 22.8. This shows that most, not all, but the majority of African American mother-infant mortality rates are contributed to maternal complications. The purpose of my project. The question is, can preconception care make a difference in the mother-infant mortality rate among African American women in the United States? The purpose of my project is to establish a system for preconception care of African American women, and that the preconception care leads to lower complication risk and lower mother-infant mortality rate. By working with OBGYNs, nurse practitioners in women's health, and primary care physicians as a team to develop the best way to address the lack of knowledge, understanding, and implementation of preconception care. By including the primary care doctors along with your nurse practitioners in women's health and your OBGYNs, we can follow from preconception care through the labor and delivery process till postpartum to see if that preconception care really made a difference in that pregnancy. Gaps I aim to address. 2 questions that can be looked at. Why is the number of deaths between African American women and any other race so large? And what type of preconception care and resources can help lower the number in African American populations? Distribution of information in order to increase the knowledge of African American women on treatable disease processes that can affect pregnancies, such as diabetes and high blood pressure, with disease processes that tend to run very frequently in African American population. I also want to work towards having more accessible information that is easy to understand and implement in a woman's life, that not only can help with the health and well-being of that mother along with that child, it can also in the long run help with the health of that woman. My proposed methodology. My research method includes interviews, questionnaires, and surveys. What will happen is once the gap preconception system is implemented, they will fill out that system, kind of see where it goes from there, and we will conduct interviews on how they felt about the information they were given. Was it understandable? Was it easy to understand? Did the interventions make sense? And then we'll also be doing more interviews, of course, during the pregnancy and 6 weeks postpartum to see if the information that was gathered during the preconception period was helpful during the pregnancy. My research design, of course, is experimental. We just want to implement this and see if there's a possibility that it could work in the long run. My sampling method includes inclusion and exclusion criteria. The inclusion criteria is you have to be an African American woman and have the desire to either have kids or have had kids in the past that were high risk pregnancies and you plan to have more in the future. We also plan to have it between the ages of 18 and 34, which is the age where you begin to think about having kids and you're becoming a woman, and you need to have that information to make sure you're making the right informed decisions. Also, in participant recruitment, we'll go from the primary care physicians and we'll follow them throughout this process and see if they can actually make a difference. The significance to nursing. By being an African American woman and being pregnant can be scary time because of all the risk factors that can be involved. Being able to have some peace of mind, to have more control over your body and health, and the health of the unborn child. Also, by giving them more control and knowledge of that situation, gives them the chance to make the best informed decisions on their health and what works best for them. Innovation. The Gabi preconception system. This system was developed by Boston University, and it has 12 major categories within this online system that participants will go and answer questions in. Those include access to healthcare and basic needs, healthy relationships, sexual and reproductive health, health conditions and medications, genetic health history, emotional and mental health, social determinants of health, immunizations and vaccinations, environmental issues, nutrition and exercise, substance use, and infectious diseases. By looking at all 12 of these categories, we can get a better understanding and a more rounded image of this person and the health issues that they have, not only internal but external, not only physical but mental at the same time. To have all this information in one place, it gives people a better opportunity to make the best informed decisions, the best evidence-based practice decisions on the best course of action for these women during the preconception period in order to lower the risk of having complications during pregnancy that can lead to the death of the mother, the infant, or both. Why should you fund my project? With the decreases in births among the African American population due to the fear that they have when it comes to becoming pregnant and those complications that are seen so very often in the African American population, and you begin to continue to see the rise in mother and infant mortality rates. By giving African American women more knowledge base and more information that is easy to read, easy to understand, easy to access, it gives them more control over their bodies, more control over their lives. It gives them the opportunity to have honest conversations with their doctors. Hey, this is what needs to be done. This is how I feel. These are the things that were brought up when I went through this system. What's the best way to approach these situations? That is why I believe I should be funded. This is a very important thing in our country. The mother-infant mortality rate among African American women in the developed country that the United States is it's not understandable. It doesn't make any sense with the amount of medical advancements that the United States has been able to come up with. Why is it that we cannot find a good way to lower the risk of death in African American women when they give birth to children? That is the only way that we're going to truly be able to give them peace of mind, knowing that there is information and there is knowledge out here that is easy to understand, easy to learn from, that can be helpful in guaranteeing that we can give them more information and we could possibly lower the risk of the death rates within the United States. I thank you for listening to my project today, and I hope that you are able to fund me in my quest to learn and implement as much as we can within the African American women population, as well as the nurse practitioner and women's health specialty.